This is exactly what you need to know for Chapter 2, Chemistry for Anatomy and Physiology. This comes from a question in my DMs, so if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or send me an email. The email is on my website. This video in particular just goes over what you need to know for the chapter. If you want to know the more intricate details of everything, feel free to comment, send me a DM or email, or sign up for my tutoring. My study guides and links to my tutoring are available on my website. That's linked in my bio. So the first part here is matter and energy, and what you want to know are the different characteristics between solid, liquids, and gases. And there are physical and chemical changes in chemistry, and you want to know the differences and examples of each type. You also want to know the differences between kinetic and potential energy, as well as the differences between chemical, electrical, mechanical, and radiant energy. Now moving on to elements, you want to make sure you're familiar with the four most important ones for life, which are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, or CHON as I like to call it. And then you also want to know phosphorus and sulfur. Now atoms are the smallest form of organization, and then you have protons, neutrons, and electrons, and know their charges. And then you want to know ions, which are either positive or negative, and atoms typically want to be neutral. And then you want to know how to draw a planetary model and an orbital model. They're outdated, but they're still going to expect you to have a basic knowledge of that. And then you want to be able to identify an element via their atomic number, their mass number, and their weight. You want to be familiar with isotopes, which have the same number of protons, but they have different number of neutrons, which can lead to a radioisotope, which is a heavy difference in that. And then know the electrons shell via the rule of 8, except the first shell, which is 2. And for chemical bonding, you want to know the difference between a cation versus an anion, and then you also want to know the differences between polar and nonpolar bonds, and then you want to know the characteristics of hydrogen bonds. And for some of the chemical reactions, you want to know the synthesis versus decomposition reactions, and also exchange reactions, and then you also really want to hammer in the factors that affect the different chemical rates of reaction. Knowing the factors is typically very important. For the biochemistry, you want to know the difference between inorganic and organic compounds. For inorganic, you want to be able to list the water properties. You want to know the different types of functions that salt has. You want to know the difference between acids and bases and how to neutralize them. And then you also want to be familiar with the pH scale. For organic compounds, you want to know the difference between a monomer versus a polymer. And you also want to know the difference between dehydration synthesis versus hydrolysis. Specifically, how is water used in each of those reactions? And arguably the most important part of chemistry for anatomy and physiology are the organic compounds. You want to know all of their structures, their functions, and their examples, and that would be for carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Hopefully this helped you break down the chapter a little bit. Definitely let me know if you have any more questions or reach out to me for tutoring if you're struggling with any of this material. Again, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day, and good luck in anatomy and physiology.